G'day everyone, I'm here with Rochene from Barbell Babes Brigade / times plus whatever you want, T-Gen, competing at this year's Team Champs. We've got a lot to talk about a little bit about Barbell Babes and how that's kind of come to an end, how we've mixed in, well, how they've, what do you want to use, fused with T-Gen and what all that means. So there's a lot to talk about, but I'm excited to have you here, Rochene. How are you going?
Hi, I'm so excited. I'm a bit nervous
Yeah.
because
I mean,
we
you're used to
are
being behind a
very,
microphone, so it's not so bad.
I am, but we are wildly underprepared for this comp. So that's the energy that I'm bringing into this podcast or YouTube. I don't even know where it's actually recorded, but that's kind of where we're at. So when I spoke to you, I was like, do I actually want to do this? But I'm like, no, it's important to get different flavors of powerlifting. So here we are.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to assume that everybody's in it with the same attitude, but you guys are in it with a much more chill attitude. I'm Philip about to sneeze, so if I run away, that's what that is. But yeah, I'm glad that you've come on because we've pretty much interviewed every coach, and so you're the only one that was missing. I was, you're obviously very busy, but I'm glad to have finally caught up to you. So I guess the first question is, a little bit of an explanation. Some people might be a little bit confused. Barbell Babes were in there last year, and then you've pulled the pin, or Barbell Babes is no more.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of happened as in a quick little backstory, so people are just to give a little bit of context. What's going on?
So we did Team Champs last year for the first year, but we actually couldn't submit a whole team because one of our lifters was injured. So yeah, we still competed. I don't even know where we got, to be honest. And then most recently in the last couple of months, I have sold Barbell Babes Brigade. And we had already been invited as a team into Team Champs. And me and one of my best friends, Prue, who was supposed to compete last year, couldn't. And it's been like a dream of ours to be able to compete together. And so we're like, you know what? Like, we're still going to do this. And we still think it's really important to represent what was Barbell Babes and also to bring in kind of the new chapter of the new gym that has come into the space of T-Gen. So we made a decision to do a collab and merge two beautiful, visions and two beautiful energies together. And that's why we have a collab team.
Cool. And so T-Gen was a separate, well, it is a separate gym run by Sammy, who's also one of my good friends and Billy's good friends. And so it sounds like, just to clarify, it's T-Gen that's bought over Barbell Babes, taken over.
Yeah.
And now we've got this little fusion team, which is really cool for this year's championships, right?
That's right. So I sold my gym to Sammy of T-Gen, and Barbell Babes will no longer exist, but this is kind of like our last hurrah, and we get to do it with our friends at T-Gen.
Yeah, I thought of it like that, right? It's kind of like like a last chance to kind of like get on the platform, like you said, you and Prue get to compete together, and I do like that it's like this nice kind of hybrid T-Gen and Barbell Babes team that are coming together, kind of like it's almost like the handing of the baton. It's like passing on the fire or whatever it is.
It was a really good chance to collab and put our space out there and also have some lifters from T-Gen get onto the platform for the first time. So that's also a really exciting part about our collab team is that our two lifters from T-Gen, Jack and Yuli, it's their first time in a sanction comp, which is so exciting.
Excellent. And that kind of brings me to my next question, which has pretty much been a standard of all the little interviews that I've done, is to introduce us to your team. So, you've mentioned yourself, obviously, in Peru, and now you've mentioned Yuli and Jack. Talk us through one by one. Who are they? What's their background? Obviously, the other, Jack and Yuli haven't competed before, like you mentioned. But, I mean, let's start with you. I mean, you're a pretty common face or a recognized face in powerlifting by now. But for those that might not be so aware, actually, that actually kind of like reminds me of another point, right? It's like a lot of the people who I've been interviewing for in the lead up to Team Champs have been the coaches. And, when we invited you, it's like you were going to be the head coach of Barbell Babes, but that's kind of actually changed. So you're going to have to introduce the coach as well. But let's start with you as a lifter. You're competing in probably the 60-kilo class, but maybe not.
All right.
Go on, you do the introductions.
I'm usually a 60-kilo weight class lifter. I've recently got gastro and haven't trained for a week, and I am now in a different weight class. I have dropped a weight class. So we're going to do everything to stay in my weight class, but whatever. I think it's my 15th or 16th comp. And I just really love competing. I have had a very up and down, I would say, competitive journey as a powerlifter. I've had 2 2 children amongst those 15 comps. So my results have gone up, and then I've had to rebuild and things like that. But I just love competing. I love getting on the platform. So I will continue to do it and present my strength however it is for each comp. So that's me in that particular weight class. Then we have Prusa. So she is in the 100+ weight class. I can't remember what number comp this is for her. I think it's like number 7. And she is a really amazing lifter. So she's been competing for 6 years now. And yeah, like I said before, we're so excited to be able to get up and have fun together and celebrate powerlifting, because we both love powerlifting so much, and we've been doing this together as friends and previously as coach and client. She's no longer my client anymore, as I've sold the gym. And it just means that we get to have this different relationship together. And she has been such a good friend of mine over the years that she was there from the beginning of Barbell Babes. And to be able to do this alongside her, it really feels like full circle, and that we get to do it as friends alongside. So she is feeling a bit nervous about the comp, as am I. We are definitely not at our peak performance whatsoever. And honestly, we thought about like pulling the pin. But when we decided that we were going to do it, it was because we are so excited to have fun with all the lifters that we know and, you know, get up there and support our community. So that's Prusa. Then we've got Jack. So Jack is a coach at TGen. Now Jack has done a number of like novice comps. So with TGen gyms, they run a non-sanctioned competition called the Trans Takeover, and Jack has competed a number of times at Takeover and just does amazing things. They have the biggest vibe. I actually don't know if they're allowed to wear like Viper glasses, but they will be coming in their fullest glory, and I hope that they will wear them. So that's Jack. I was talking to Jack just before, and they're going for the biggest deadlift. That's what they are really, really pushing forwards, is that's the lift that they're going to maximize. And then we have Yuli. This will be Yuli's first sanctioned competition too, but again, Yuli has done Takeover. And I saw Yuli lift at the last Takeover, and I was like, that is someone that we want in our team. And so that's how we've, come towards having our team together. But it's just been a really funny couple of weeks. We've all been navigating whether it was sickness or nervousness around this, or are we ready? No, we're not ready, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'm really excited about that.
Excellent. No, excuse me. That's a really good rundown. So it's like a little bit of a mix of experience and a little bit of a mix of what's the opposite of inexperience, I suppose, but also that kind of inexperienced enthusiasm. I'm sure now you've been around the block a couple of times. Yeah, it's like not that you don't get bored of it, and you kind of even said before how much you actually love it and you love competing, and it's so much fun and blah blah blah. But looking through it with the fresh eyes, and like I'm sure that both Jack and Yuli are just like super excited for it, and the whole community down there is like super excited to be coming down. And I'm excited for that energy, because like like that, they're just going to bring so much good energy, and it's going to be really 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 good on the day.
I mean, the energy is going to be amazing from our crew, but also outfits are going to be on point, vibe is going to be in point. Like that's part of our competitive strategy for the weekend.
Look, if you can't beat him, then just look good doing it. I think is a good way to go about it.
We didn't realize this until like 2 days ago when Good Lifting Podcast did. I think they've got a ranking scoreboard coming up, and I saw a screenshot and I was like, "Hang on, team, we're actually relatively competitive. Get your bum bags ready because bitches are on."
I like that. Now you mentioned there that you're feeling a bit nervous. Both you and Prue. Especially, how are Jack and Yuli feeling, considering it's their first competition? Are they equally as nervous, or are they just vibing and having a good time?
Nah, they're nervous. We're all really nervous. Not necessarily. I mean, I think nerves can be sometimes perceived as bad. We're nervous about presenting what we can present as the lifters on the day, but just making sure that we can soak up the experience, because for us as a team, it's all about enjoyment. It's all about putting ourselves out there and just doing whatever strength we can on the platform. So we want to make sure that we can be immersed in it, be present in it. So there's a lot of excited nerves, because for me and Prue, we kind of don't know where our strength is going to go. Like Prue failed a deadlift like 2 days ago and was crying. I literally did the first session in a week and it was piss poor. So it's kind of unknown, but we do what we can. And that ultimately is what powerlifting is all about.
I find it interesting because I have been nervous for comps in the past many times, obviously, and nothing has made me more nervous, or I've never been more nervous than when training goes well. Actually, it's when training is going really well because then I put all this pressure on myself. It's like training's going so good, like oh maybe this is the meet, like this is the meet where I total this number, or this is the meet where I squat this weight. And so it's like when training's going well, I put all this pressure on myself to think like, oh, I'd hate to screw this up. You know, like I'm like on the precipice of like, you know, the perfect meet and I'm going to fuck it up. Whereas ironically, those meets, like those preps where things aren't going so well and you're not fully prepared, I personally, I actually find myself really relaxed because I'm like, well, who cares? You know, like maybe in your position, you might even find out where you're like, well, if I squat, you know, 100 or if I squat 110 or if I squat 75, then like whatever, like it doesn't matter. Like it's not going to hurt your feelings if you, yeah, like you're not going to have your dreams crushed. And so ironically, I actually find it quite comforting to come into a meet going like, you know what, I'm just going to do the best I can, and wherever I land, I land.
And
so
that's exactly
it's an interesting
like
kind of like different
Jack and Yuli feel like that, and it's really cool to listen to Jack and Yuli because we're just kind of like whatever happens, and we're winning because we're getting up there. We're winning because we are staying in the game, and you know, having that energy pull through. I think, especially for first-time competitors in such a really hectic, exciting environment, I think staying in that energy for them is going to be really important.
Yeah, and it's like you know, I think although you're, you know, you've obviously sold the gym, and I take it, are you doing any coaching at the moment, or you've stopped like powerlifting coaching or gym fitness coaching? Right, but it's like, you know, what I've always kind of said from a coaching point of view as myself, it's like even though you're not technically in that space anymore, you know, you've still got a lot of people behind you that you've worked with over the years. It's like you're still a leader in that space. You're still like someone, you know, a reference point for a lot of people. And I think like, you know, you mentioned thinking about pulling out. Obviously, from a meet director point of view, I'm very glad that you didn't pull out. But I think it's also just like a good. Oops! I'm just getting a phone call. Sorry, that was very annoying. And just from a like setting an example point of view, it's like, look, things aren't going well, but I'm still going to do the meet. I'm going to follow through with what I committed to. I committed to doing this meet. I'm going to turn up. I'm going to do the best I can, and that's can almost be a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a message, a little bit of inspiration to other lifters out there who might be, you know, quick to throw in the towel when preps aren't going so well.
Well, I think that's the theme for our entire team, to be frank with you. You know, Jack and Yuli have got just lifestyle stresses, lots of things going on. You know, Jack has been, as a coach that's now moved into a new gym and they're going through a whole new lifestyle change. You know, I've sold a gym and Prue's got her things going on and so has Yuli, but it doesn't, like, I think with powerlifting, the powerlifters that continue to do so well are the ones that can continue to do it and follow through with the preps. And over the years that I've competed, my results have been very up and down because my life is constantly been up and down, whether it's gym ownership, whether it's babies, whether it's whatever. And I think that a lot of powerlifters, you will learn a lot by following through on preps and following through when you've committed to what you want to do. Is a very valuable lesson that a lot of powerlifters could learn.
Excellent. Couldn't have said it better myself because, you know, I mean, like when it comes to like doing meets, I think you can hit PBs and maxes on any day of the week. You know, like you could be warming up, and I've done it. I've had those sessions where you're warming up and it's just feeling so good, and you're like, I'm just going to send it today, and maybe, you know, go off program a little bit because I'm feeling really strong. You know, because you can feel it when you're strong. But I think the beauty of meets is it's a commitment. It's saying on this day I'm going to do the best I can, and I can't chicken out. You know, like you know, if you're warming up in the gym and you're supposed to do a single at RP9 and warm ups feel shit, you can pull the pin and say, I'm just going to can this session, pack my bags up and go home. But the beauty of meets is that you've signed up and you've made a commitment to yourself and said, on this date, I'm going to turn up and do the best that I can, whatever that might be. And I think there's also this extra element. I don't know if you get this. Tell me what the kind of like, you know, you mentioned earlier, you got a little group chat and stuff, but I'd be curious to know like what the like dynamic is between the four of you, because there's also like this commitment to your teammates. It's like, well, I said I was going to be there for you, so I can't pull out because otherwise how are you supposed to, you know, like you said, you guys might not win, but it's like if you pull out, then that just costs your team a little bit, and you don't want to do that to them.
That's right. And like I was the first person that wanted to pull out. And then I literally thought about my other 3 teammates and was like, I'm just not going to do that. Like, I will not be my best. I 100% and not at my best strength, but like, we don't want to have a half team. We just don't want to do that. So everyone is the energy that we're bringing and the commitment that we're bringing is we've decided, yes, we're coming together. We're going to come as a united front, and whatever that looks like, we're going to give RP 9.5 grinds. It doesn't matter what the actual bar is loaded. We will grind as hard as we possibly can. And when we've done that, job done.
Love that. I mean, that's just the best way because, like you said, you don't know where your strength is. Like you and Peru don't know where your strengths are, and you just got to see where it is, and you just can do the best that you can each day. Now you mentioned the 4 lifters, but also you got a head coach. So the head coach was going to be you, I suppose. When the invites went out 5 months ago, but that's changed.
That's right.
So who's taken over?
Yeah, so our head coach is Sammy. He is the owner of TGen. So he is going to be handling us on the day, putting in the attempts, carving our nerves, doing all the things that, handlers do. And yeah, like it's just going to be so fun to have Sammy there. Sammy is very vocal. Sammy is a big personality. And I think it's just going to be like a hangout session for us. And it's going to be just energy and fun, and I actually am so that's one of the biggest things why I continue to go through this. I was like, I am just so excited to be able to lift, not just with our team, but with all the other people. Like I get to lift with coaches that I talk to all the time. I get to lift with, competitors that I might not all have the chance to do in one meet. The only one that I don't get to compete with in the actual session is Lizzie, which I love competing with. But like I get to compete with other competitors, and that's something that doesn't happen. Like it is the mecca of powerlifting and the mecca of so many coaches as well in the industry. And that's going to be like a very memorable experience that I'm really keen for.
Yeah, it's funny because I was speaking to Billy about this morning, and I was saying there's so many like connections between all the coaches and lifters and different clubs, and a lot of the clubs have friends or they train with someone else from a different club, or they're competing for one team but their friend is coached by another team, and there's just so much like this. And one thing I've said to a number of the other coaches during these calls as well, actually, is like, one of the things I've enjoyed the most is getting on a call, because it's like, you and I are friends, but we don't really chat very often. We might exchange a message on Instagram every now and again, but it's actually just nice to sit and chat to you. And I've done that nearly 20 times now with all the other coaches. So it's such a good little experience. And I think it's one of my key values is bringing the whole community together, like bringing the coaches together. I don't see the other clubs as competitors in the industry. I see them as colleagues in the industry. So trying to bring everyone together and have, obviously have a good time and have it create a competitive outlet is really important to me.
And that's been like the most amazing thing to see is we have the powerlifting community, but the vibe that's been brewing because of Teen Champs, especially this particular year, has been incredible. Like this is bigger. This is more chitter chatter than nationals. This is more excitement than, fucking Sheffield, in my opinion, in Australia. And it's so fun because I was just doing a playlist and I was going to send it to Lizzie because we both love Taylor Swift. And I was like, I'm going to share you my playlist. I know we're not competing on the same day, but then we can still rival each other.
She was looking forward to beating you, is what she said. She's like, I wanted to beat Rochene. No, she didn't say that exactly, but
I know she would, because we're both Scorpio sisters and we say that to each other.
Love that. That is a competitive outlet. No, it's good. She's actually quite disappointed that she doesn't get to lift with you because she wanted to. It's a nice rivalry. You're a similar level. It would have been really fun, but not to be. There's always another time. I was going to ask you as well, like one thing that we haven't actually spoken about directly, or haven't made a really big fuss about it, was when the initial invites went out and I ended up collecting 22 teams. And I decided, okay, with these 22 teams, we're going to split them across 2 days. And rather than having all the lifters split by weight class, we're going to split them by teams first and have half the teams on one day, half the teams on the other day. And so we've got this challenges bracket, we've got this premier bracket. In the premier bracket, I was going to put in the top teams, the teams that competed well last year. And what's the word? Prioritize or give first dibs, I suppose. What's the word? I'm missing a word here. But give that priority to the teams that scored well last year or that were even there last year. Like you guys, like Barbell Babes were there last year. since then, we've decided to put you guys into the challengers bracket. A lot of people might not even realize that because they haven't seen that, like in terms of the way that the scheduling is done. It's really clear that is the case now. But what was the decision to kind of essentially request move yourselves into the challengers bracket? I mean, clearly part of it was part of the selling of Barbell Babes, and you guys coming in with, I guess, a different attitude compared to previous years potentially. But yeah, talk us through that.
Yeah, so we were invited to compete on the Premier Bracket. And then when I sold the gym and we decided that we're still going to stay in Team Champs, we were like, okay, well, to give any other teams that it might be more appropriate to go into that bracket, I would rather, for one, that we come into the other day and allow, those people that are really gunning for the top teams to absolutely go for it, because I've been competing for a while and it's so much fun when you get to go against your rival teams and your rival competitors. Like, that is competitive powerlifting, and we get to do that in a local comp. So we're not in that space. That's not the energy that we're bringing to this comp. So I don't want to rob that from another team, because that is such a fun experience if you get to do that as a lifter. So that was one of them. The other reason we wanted to do it is we wanted to lift on a Saturday and live with a lot of our friends, which was also really cool. And then Prue, who is a national ref, she wanted to ref, so she gets to ref on the Premier Bracket on Sunday now. She's a highly skilled ref. She knows her stuff, and now she gets to lift on the Saturday and then be involved in a ref capacity on the Sunday. So there was just a few factors that played into it.
Yeah, like when you kind of thought about it, it kind of made sense. It was like, well, considering X, Y, Z, and A, it's like, well, let's just lift on the first day in that way. Yeah, and also, like you said before, kind of like takes a bit of pressure off you guys. You're not quote unquote lifting with the big dogs. You're just like, and that's not to take anything away from anyone in the challenge bracket, because the day one is also going to be very competitive. But like you said, kind of take yourself out of that space and go into the different focus. I'm glad that you mentioned about Prue, actually, because I actually haven't seen Prue ref until I think it was our TSF Open, and I was so impressed with her refereeing. Like, I'm really, really fussy about referees. And when I saw her refereeing and the way that she like talked about the rules and the way she argued with things, I was like, I need you as head referee. I was like, Prue, what are you doing on March 9th and 10th? She goes, I'm competing. I'm like, fuck. Oh, well, we're going to have to find a solution. And I'm glad we found a solution.
Queen knows her stuff. Like, she knows the rule book. She just knows it through and through, and she loves it and will be so strict and stand her ground. Like, I was at the gym training with her today because we teed up a session, and she's just talking about rule changes. Like, she's just so interested in it, and I love that. So she wanted to be able to support Team Champs in another role.
No, I love that, and that's the thing, is that refereeing's hard, and it's not only is it hard, it's also hard in proportion to the context. So, for example, one message I'm going to have to send out to all the referees, I'm going to send this out to them early next week, is, hey, this is not like refereeing a local comp, because emotions will be high. Coaches know their stuff. Like, you know that I know my stuff, but the coaches know their stuff. Like, you don't think Victor Liu doesn't know the rules very well. You don't think that, Michael Porcevigan doesn't know the rules. Like, the coaches know their rules. And so if anything goes against them, they will argue and they will come up to the referees and say, and I don't want to see arguing, but it happens because, like I said, emotions run high, passions are there, there's real things on the line, like there's money on the line. So there's going to be some, let's say, argumentative coaches, sorry. And so as a referee, if you are even a little bit unsure about a rule and you back down, you're going to let those coaches walk over you. So it's good to have like a strong soul in Prue who's going to be like, no, I know what the rules are, motherfucker. I've read them 1,000 times. So sit the fuck down, because this is what I said is going on.
This is my land. Next I remember That's right. I remember at the comp when you were there and you questioned something, and she was just holding her ground, and you were able to both have a conversation together. But she just doesn't back down. She'll know when she's wrong, but she'll also put her hand up when she's like, no, that's right. Move on.
Love that. Now, I know that you, like you said, you haven't been super focused on the competitive side of things, but is there a certain team or person that you're really looking forward to seeing? Is there a certain group that you really want to see do well on the platform? And if you've even given that much thought, is there a certain team that you think might even win the whole thing out of the 22 that's there?
To kind of answer those questions, I don't really know from a competitive standpoint who in terms of points or anything like that, but I am very excited to see some of these new teams come in and just, see the challenger teams like just put up their lifters. It's really cool when you see a team come to a local comp, right? Because that's what's happening now, is that you'll see one coach bring multiple lifters and you'll see similar tech or similar energy or similar support. Like, I find that really fun to watch. And I'm really interested, and I just cannot wait to see the girls at Lioness, because they have got very strong lifters there and they are just going to bring so much energy. I'm excited to see Claudia from Avia, because she's breaking like a 5-year hiatus, and I'm so glad I get to lift with her. So it's just people putting themselves out there, whether it's their first time doing something like this or getting back on the platform. Our two lifters, Jack and Yuli, like, it's just to see. We'll all get to see two people in their first sanction competition. Like, remember back to your first sanction comp? I remember it at Iron Underground in Brisbane. I just remember being like, holy moly, this is just wild. Like, I've actually done something, and we all will get to experience and see people experience that for the first time, because you never get your first sanction comp back, and we get to see it in an environment like this. So it's those kind of experiences that I'm really, really keen to be involved in, and I'll probably cry. Like, I'll just be mumming in the corner, but I love that.
No, I love that what you said there, because it's so true, right? It's like, you think of your first local meet, and I mean, I know what Iron Underground's like. I'm sure it would have been a shock to the senses, but at the same time, what Team Champs is going to be on another level to that. Imagine your first time competing, and you walk out into the platform and there's 300 people in the crowd cheering, and it's just going to be like loud and
like,
a bit of a sensory overload,
right?
to be honest. But it's going to be good. It's a good challenge. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. Now, I was going to say one last thing. You mentioned, Claudia Coppola. Get to lift with all your friends. It's going to be a really good time. I've lost it. It mustn't be so important. I guess I was going to say, okay, if you, even though you might not have had a good look, you've got to go on record and say someone. So who do you think is going to win the whole thing? You just got to name one team.
Well, I mean, I haven't looked at the points, but I know the competitive club. So
Just
we
the
have
vibes. Like, who's gonna win by vibes?
I know the competitive clubs, and also just like sick people. I think Lou lifts, Sim Strength, MSC, I think somewhere in that. Sim Strength won last year, I believe. Yeah.
Lou lift one and Sim Strength second.
Lou lift. Okay, great. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I think it's going to be out of those three. I think they're going to kind of win. But again, I'm not really into the scoreboard, to be honest.
No, that's okay. I love it. I remember what I was actually going to say before about you mentioned all these different people that you're looking forward to lift, and I think this is the last thing that will go on is I know, because you were talking about, you go to a meet and you see the coaches and the lifters and they all have something in common. They lift similarly, or they have similar energy and whatnot, which is very true. At the same time, what I think is going to be really beautiful about a comp like Team Champs is that's going to happen, but in conjunction, there'll be so much diversity. Like, we've got, like, this is a competitive comp. This isn't just like a local comp where anybody, obviously anybody can enter in theory, but people putting in their best lifters, it's quite competitive in that sense. I think the youngest lifter is like 16 or 17 years old. The oldest lifters in their 60s. We have more women than men. We have 2 MX lifters. You're going to have people of all shapes and sizes. Like, in most local meets, everyone's a 67.5 kilo girl, and everyone's a 90 kilo guy. But because of the way this comp runs, there's incentives to put in lightweights and heavyweights to even out. So you're actually going to have a really broad range. Like I think there's 5 girls in the 100 plus. Like, tell me of a local meet ever where there's been 5 girls in the 100 plus. Like, that just doesn't happen.
Oh my gosh. And that's why Prue is so excited, because she gets to, getting a Bradbury Gold is not necessarily fun all the time, right? Like, you want to be with friends and go for it.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun, and I'm looking forward to looking out into the crowd. I mean, I've said this before, but one thing I'm looking forward to is looking out in the crowd and seeing all the people wearing the Avia apparel and people holding up signs for T-Gen and holding up whatever, like having the little groups and having the little clumping like this. It's going to be heaps of fun. Rochene, thanks for making the time to jump on a call with me and discuss what's going to be the biggest local comp of the year. We're excited to have you guys. Are excited to have T-Gen down competing in only a week and oh my god, 9 days. Can you believe it? It's going to be a
I
blast. But thanks for
cannot
making the time
believe it.
today.
I hope that we will get there. I know we will get there. And we'll just bring whatever is there, but we cannot wait for the weekend. It's going to be so much fun. And just to get to see everyone. So thank you for inviting us and for allowing us to move with the changes, because me and you have had chats about the changes and categories and things like that. And I'm glad that we got to continue to push some messages and some movements, especially coming into TGen and coming into Team Champs. So I think it's a really cool move.
Cool. No, thank you very much, Rochene, and we'll see you in 9 days.